Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Changing Tides podcast. In each episode, we invite guests to have honest conversations about their mental health journeys with the goal of destigmatizing mental health within the Asian American Pacific Islander community. Due to the nature of the podcast, we'll be discussing a variety of mental health topics and possibly triggering experiences. While we and the majority of our guests are not trained professionals, we encourage you to practice self-care while listening and seek professional guidance if you or a loved one is in need of support. With that said, let's start the episode.
Hi, my name is Marissa Engoy, and I describe my mental health journey as being in the middle.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Changing Tides podcast. My name is Matthew Yonemura. As you can see, if you are on YouTube, which I actually would recommend because we have an in-person interview this time around. But this episode, I did not want to get my camera set up and record this intro and outro. So here we are with the Changing Tides logo on the screen. But anyways, enough about that. We have a really special episode coming that you're about to listen to. We got to film this one at Corridor Flow, which is a coffee shop over in Lomita. We have worked with them a couple of times. We had them come out to Ripple Effect, our walk for suicide prevention. And we have a really exciting collaboration work with them as well as our podcast guests today. But we're just really excited to share all that information as it comes. But for now, I just really want to share this interview with our guest. Our guest is just really talented when it comes to plants, and they actually sell their plants out of Corridor Flow. And I got to finally chat with them in regard to this collaboration. I found out a lot more about their mental health journey. Their journey is really something that I was amazed by. I had no idea about when we decided to work with them, but here we are, and I'm really excited for you to share this story with you all. So before we get into the interview, I just want to briefly share that this episode does discuss miscarriages. So if that might be a triggering topic for you, then maybe skip this episode or proceed with caution, but just wanted to give that heads up before we get into this interview. But with that said, we could go ahead and share the interview that we did in person at Corridor Flow with Marissa Engoy. Marissa, thank you for being on the podcast. I'm going to be looking down at my knee because my questions are right in front of me here. But I'd love to hear about, before I ask you anything else, why you describe your mental health journey as being in the middle.
I feel like there have been very pivotal moments in my mental health journey. And as I've come from low points to high points to maybe being more centered, not only am I realizing, I come to discover that there's so many layers to my mental health. Mm-hmm. And I think one big thing, realization, is that although some of those high pressure points have maybe been in the past 10 years, I'm seeing things in my past that are very similar in terms of how I internalize things or reacted and respond to things. And so I think that I would describe it as being in the middle because I feel like there's always somewhere there's a wealth of knowledge that I want to tap into. And I have in recently in community and with specialists, but then the more that I explore my journey as a whole, from when I was younger until now, there's so much to unpack and so much to kind of take a look at, and in order for healing and in order to become a better person. So though there's been progress, I feel like there's a lot more progress to be made, and I'm not discouraged by the work that needs to be done, but it also I feel more like I'm in the middle than I'm at the beginning or the end. I feel like I'm in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess with that, I'd love to know when your mental health journey began.
My mental health journey, the realization that I had something going on with my mental health was when I'd miscarried. I already had 2 cute, adorable kids. The oldest, Ezra, was almost 3, and my younger son, actually is probably, he wasn't even 3 yet, yeah. And then my other son, Sai, was maybe a year old, and I found out that I was pregnant, and I always wanted a million kids because I was like, how fun would it be to have a million kids? And I found that I was pregnant. And it took me by surprise because my second son was only a year old, but it was something to celebrate. And so not too long after I found that out, and we had announced it to our church, we announced it to our family, it was like a big deal. I was bleeding, so I went to the ER, and they said, let's put you on the ultrasound, let's see what's happening. And I saw the little one like bouncing around like a butterfly. Every time I laughed, there was like a fluttering. And so I felt like, good thing I came to the ER. They have all the equipment. The staff saw how fragile I was. And that was awesome. So they just said, you need to rest. You're on bed rest. And I was only 8 weeks in, 2 months in to this whole, long journey of having a baby. And I had a toddler and a baby. I'm like, I don't even know if I can do this. So a couple days later, I had a follow-up appointment, and I felt good. I felt amazing. And I went to the appointment by myself. I told my husband, this is cool. We're good. The doctors at the ER said I was good. So they did an ultrasound, and they were really quiet. They were really, just wait till the doctor comes, which is not, I already had like the experience with 2 ultrasounds before, or with the 2 pregnancies. And they told me, we can't find a heartbeat. And in my mind, I'm thinking, then go find a heartbeat, like just go find one. Yeah. And I couldn't process what they were saying. And I kind of, from that point on, and all the logistics of having to carry a little one that's no longer living, I started to spiral, and my body felt really heavy. And I think just returning to, when did it start? That was the first time I was aware that I know this isn't right. I don't know how to get out of this. And everything that I'm doing to try to get out of this lowness, the images of watching a fluttering baby to watching like a baby that just was lifeless on the big screen. I was literally on these big flat screens. The shock of that and all the details of that entails, so that was just the first time I think that I felt like, wow, something is not right in me. My brain doesn't feel right. My thought process doesn't feel right. And it's physically affecting me. Like I could not get out of bed. It was like my body weighed like 17 tons. I couldn't even move my shoulder. So that was kind of, that's the first time that the journey started. At the time, I didn't know it was a journey. At the time, I just wanted to get out. Like, how do we fix this? This is not me. And how are we going to do this, people? Like, and then also feeling like almost guilt that my body was broken. It just like when you have children, or even the dream as a child, as a little kid, that you will one day have your own family. It's almost like an unspoken promise that that's going to happen. And when it doesn't happen the way that you think it should happen. So all of those, there's more to it, of course, but that was definitely the first time that I felt like something's not right. And part of, I think, why I was almost forced to recognize something wasn't right, because I was looking at my kids and I'm like, I can't be this. I don't even know how to be there for you. I don't even No, I just remember them running around in that season in their trunks in the backyard with the hose because I was so like out of it. I couldn't get it. So anyway, yeah, that's I really remember that time.
Yeah. So, well, first off, thank you so much for sharing and being vulnerable enough to share it, because this all started because, well, I mean, we haven't released the details yet, but we're going to work together in a collaboration in December, which like our team is super excited about. And as we were talking and you were telling me about how much you appreciated what Changing Tides is doing and mental health, and you were candid enough to share this story with me. So I guess like, you know, this is something that was super vulnerable and super difficult for you. What encourages you to share your experiences with folks when it would be easier to not talk about it?
That's a good question. At the time, it's weird because that was 10 years ago that happened. 11, actually. It's been a while. And I've had my youngest son after that. So just so much life has just happened. But for a while, that I feel like things are differently resourced now. In the time that it was all happening, it could have just been my experience, but I felt like there wasn't a platform to talk about infertility and like a pregnancy loss. There could have been, but it seemed to be little by little, I was sharing what I felt like I was sharing what God was doing in my life. So I was sharing this story of healing, but it was like this subsection that was started to get highlighted.
Yeah.
Not part of like it, at my church and things, it was God's healing, but the subsection of that I was almost forced to sit with because women started connecting with me. And because of, social media is crazy.
Yeah.
But I was just sharing some plants online because I saw that other people were sharing plants online, and not a lot of people were sharing plants online. And I would talk about it on Instagram because I knew there were other people out there, maybe not in my immediate circle. And at the time, it was just, I'd have women from other countries message me on Instagram or get my email from my Instagram. And they didn't know who to talk to. They knew I was talking kind of about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of us like, how did you get out of the sadness? How did you get out? I'm like, I don't know how it happened. Like, I don't know. So I really did see that at the time. I know when it was happening to me, I just needed one person to talk to. And there were a few people who just came in from nowhere to just help usher me out of that season. And connection was so important. So I figured if I needed that so bad and those people were connecting through the same topic, I can't solve these people's problems, but I can maybe help usher them into the next season. And so as much as I love my business and what I do, the connection has always been top priority. And especially when it comes to pregnancy loss and infertility. I wouldn't have given myself that label if someone told me like 20 years ago, Marissa, how are you going to like run your business? I wouldn't have said that. But it brings me so much joy to see somebody in their lowest of lows and not know who to go to or not even know how to navigate asking for help or whatever, to just, I don't solve their problems. I feel like people know I'm not like superwoman, but it is a game changer to be that usher for somebody. It's a game changer. And I don't do much in it. I feel every now and then someone will come back to me and say, Marissa, when you said this, or when I came to this workshop, because I always share my story in the workshop, maybe just for like a couple minutes. They're like, that made me so happy. That made me feel like I wasn't alone. So that is why I do that.
I mean, it's unbelievable because you said that you share this in your workshops. I was sitting here as you were telling me, I was like, how are you powering through this conversation so powerfully? I was like, you're getting through this without even skipping a beat. So I think it's unbelievable.
I talk about it a lot now. I talk about it a lot. I never try to be robotic about it. We just had a workshop here yesterday and Friday, and there was a girl who, a regular customer who came to the workshop, and I ended up running into her in the parking lot on Tuesday, and it was the same.
Yeah.
It was the same, like, thank you for just saying that. Because I wish that I could carry everybody. I wish I could save everybody. I wish. Mm-hmm. Because that lowness is just, it's indescribable. And it's not just in, infertility. You guys would know because there's so many things. But yeah, anyhow.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of how Changing Tides views mm-hmm. things. One person opening up their story, mm-hmm. whether it be about sobriety or depression mm-hmm. of, a chemical imbalance, mm-hmm. which is fairly common. Yes. These things, when you're vulnerable, it encourages others to be vulnerable no matter what their experiences are, if they're able to relate directly, or if it's just a matter of this person sharing their emotions so clearly with me, I could feel comfortable to do the same thing. And I think it's unbelievable what you're doing. So just to kind of backtrack mm-hmm. a little bit mm-hmm. in terms of figuring out the timeline a little. Yeah. So did both of your kids come before or after your...
So I have 3 now.
Okay.
2, I had 2, and then before the miscarriage.
Okay.
And I felt like I popped those children out, and it wasn't easy, but I was like, dang, I could do this a million times. Yeah. And then after the miscarriage, I was like, hell no, I'm never going to do this to my body. I'm never going to hope again. It was weird. I was like, I never want to hope that this would happen again.
Right.
And it did.
So that's exactly what I was curious about, because it's like, I could only imagine that fear. Oh, I mean, I literally, for me, it's literally only imagine. I could never experience what you went through. What was that fear, and how did you overcome it? Because you want to have these millions of kids.
I don't want a million kids.
Not anymore.
For other reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, kids are awesome, but yeah.
Not a million of them.
Yeah. Not a million of them for sure. Okay. That pregnant, Jude, my youngest, he was a wonderful surprise. Mm. But yes, that whole pregnancy was I wasn't completely stressed out, but I had to. There was also, in this time when I'd miscarried, this awareness that my mind and the way that I think is connected to my body. Like if I think crazy thoughts, my body, I might think my body might feel it, that the physiologicalness, I don't know, that's not a word, of it. So I was very aware with my third pregnant, or I guess it would have been 4th pregnancy, that I should not go down the deep end. Like, I wanted to stay healthy, not just physically. Actually, to be physically healthy was far less important in that season than having my mind be healthy. So I was like just praying a lot, but it was also a very joyful time, because in that season between the miscarriage and having my 3rd son, there was these connections already started to happen. Mm-hmm. This unknown purpose for my life to be an usher. I keep on thinking usher, like, dun, 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 dun.
Like the musician? Yeah.
To be, I want to think of another word, but I feel like to be a helper, like to serve in that way. So his head is in my mind as
me too.
I'm not going to go off on that because it just sounds like it would be fun to laugh about.
The tone would change.
Yeah, the tone. Let's not go there. My plant business had kind of already started. The plant business hasn't started. I always say that it's hard to give a date of my business because it was community.
Right.
And then it became a business a couple years after. So my plant community, connecting in that way, connecting with people like abroad, connecting with people locally, it wasn't like a machine. It was very individualized. We weren't like meeting at a coffee shop and talking about our feelings, or meeting at a church and talking about our feelings. So I felt like I didn't need to worry too much, I also kind of didn't want to start worrying about worrying to create stress to my body. So even that journey in terms of being more aware of the chaos in my mind and how it affects just my body, that's still stuff that I'm learning right now. So yeah, I feel like sometimes I forget what the initial question was. So sorry.
I kind of forget too. Oh, the strength to power forward. To have your third child.
Oh yeah.
Or your fourth pregnancy.
Yeah, it was. It also felt very supernatural. I felt like God was just with me, and there was so much joy and connection. So I don't know if I was powering through, and it wasn't like I was sitting there like fingers crossed. Let's hope this happens the right way. It was like day to day. So like get through the first week, get through the first month, and then I had my oldest had started TK, and so there was all these kind of new adventures and stress and benchmarks. And my youngest one was like just about to start my middle one was just about to start preschool. It's crazy to think that now, because now my oldest one's 15, and I know it's like, whoa, they were just like walking around into walls not too long ago. But so it was day to day, and I did feel that there was a mutual help. Like there was a lot of help. I was helping people, not mutual, and people were helping me, and I was allowing myself to receive the help as well. Yeah. So to power through it, I wish I could be like, yeah, I did it and I did it well, but it happened, and though it was my body in which it was happening, it was the love of a lot of people, just, and I think my story had really shifted from being like depressed to being the center of a conversation. And it wasn't that I felt like I was much more stronger at one time than the other, but there was just some wonderful things happening. So, yeah.
So I think that was actually the first time either of us have directly called what that feeling was depression. Okay. Because I think that's fair. Yeah. Like when I was going through depression, I just called it a funk. I was like, how else do I describe this? Because who am I to say that I'm going through this mental illness that other folks are prescribed for? I mean, it took until I was prescribed to know it was depression. Yeah. So I feel like I also want to know, like, what was your awareness of what mental health is or depression is before you went through the feelings?
There was I was never like clinically told I was depressed, but there have been some other things in terms of my mental health and care and reaching out to professionals that happened like over the past 10 years as well, that I haven't really talked about that with a professional. I mean, in terms of like being diagnosed, but it's clear to me. So I mean, I feel like just as like an asterisk, like, okay, this is what I think that it was. But yeah, I'm so sorry, I forgot what the initial question is.
Like, what was your awareness of mental health prior to experiencing your miscarriage?
I thought I was like, I don't know. I just didn't think I thought that therapy wasn't even in the conversation. Medication prior to my miscarriage wasn't in the, I just didn't think I needed help. And if I'm looking like linearly to the rest of the world, it was, we all kind of shared the same story. I feel like at the time, maybe the past 20 years, though now I could see, now it's clear, college, because there were actually prior to it, my awareness, aware of nothing, thinking I don't need anything, not even realizing that there's resources. Yeah. Looking back now, there are 2 or 3 crazy points where I was very low. I call it low. I think it was depression. One was in college where I was having an identity crisis, and then I don't even know how many classes I withdrew from. I don't even know how many classes I fell. And I hid. I don't know. I just didn't want to go out.
Yeah.
I listened to a lot of folk music at that time. I don't know if that was helpful or not. But I was like just listening to folk music. And it was a friend. It was actually my sister who took me out. There was one day, there was a party, just as a sweet dinner, and she's like, "You're coming." And I remember knowing that I needed to get out. And she was like, everyone was talking. I knew everybody at the party, but I had not talked to people really outside of my family for so long that my face was like jittering. I couldn't talk without, I was trying because I knew I needed to do it, but I was like jittering, and my face was like, what do you call it?
Like a muscle spasm?
Yes, it was like spazzing. And I was like, oh, crud, I'm coming back into the world like this. But that's how removed I was. Yeah. And that was for like maybe several months. And so that was one point I'm aware of. And then the miscarriage. And then also another point was a point of transition between having to move on from a church, my church community, and moving on to another church community. And I was like, wow, I was so low during that time to have to leave people, because even though I didn't physically move, I had to leave what I considered my family. And so now I can recognize these things. And then that I realized too that it's a common thing, birthday blues. I don't know. That's nuts, because every birthday, especially I remember like maybe when I was in college and when I was an adult, a young adult till now, I would just get blue. And it became kind of worse after I got married, because I'm like, you should plan a birthday where all my blueness goes away. I didn't say that to him, but I was basically putting some high expectations on a birthday party or a birthday celebration. And so there are things like that. And there have been times now that, like, I'm thinking about it in retrospect, where in the confusion of my feelings, in the confusion of just mentally where I was at, I was not focused on helpful things. And I think sometimes it was hormonal, and I didn't want to say that these were things that were caused by like my body or hormonal things. So I would just want to start fights with people, So long answer to your question, the awareness of it at the time, it seemed like that was the start of it. But now I could see from I was younger, just unhealthy ways of processing unexpected things. And then, another thing would be having those blue feelings and then going through these seasons of depression. It's just, then you realize, well, this is like
it's
a lot, right? It's not like one thing. It's like, you made me like this. No, right. It was like a lot of things. And not to say that these pivotal moments weren't important, but it really, in realizing that it's a lifetime of mental health and mental care that needs to happen. Not to say that I know what's going to make me depressed, but there are seasons that are like triggered by heavy moments, very difficult times. And there are seasons that are maybe involving just the body and things that are like that we can't always understand. So understanding that is what when I say that I'm in the middle, like, anyway.
Yeah. So that that's interesting because you identified your miscarriage as the beginning of your mental health story, which totally makes sense because that's when you're becoming to your awareness of it. And similar to me, or similar to most people, your mental health journey, it truly, truly begins basically when you're conscious of what your feelings are. But you don't realize any of that until after the fact, until you go through that specific kind of turning point when you're realizing, oh, this is mental health.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting because of course, there's so many other aspects to your life other than that your miscarriage, right? So it's there's ups and downs of other factors.
Yes.
But you don't identify that as your mental health journey because you're not fully aware of what that was.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about plants and how that plays into it all. But before then, you've touched on the importance of your church, your religion. And for a lot of folks, and I there was a time in my life when I thought this way, where people think mental health and religion are at odds rather than how they could benefit one another, how your mental health could benefit from your religion. So I want to ask you, because clearly your church community was important to you and still probably is, right?
Yes.
How do religion and mental health go hand in hand in your experiences?
I was thinking about that. And maybe there was this instance during my miscarriage, I was coming back into my regular routine, still feeling really low. And just people are so kind, like my church family or people in the community. People just generally, I think, are kind. And when whether for good reasons or not, they want to help. And I remember, I didn't realize physically that I had looked maybe grayish or feel like lowish. My coloration, I think, had changed a bit because I was not healthy. But I worked for the church at the time, so I was like, gotta show up, which is probably not very healthy at all. But people were so kind in that two of these women pulled me aside. And they wanted to pray over me, which I was ready to just give me all the prayer. I need it all. And it turned out they weren't arguing and fighting, but one was a nurse and one was like a real prayer warrior at church. I'm laughing just because it's a hard conversation. And right in the middle, and they knew that I had miscarried and they knew I was going through some stuff. The nurse was so sweet. And she's like, Marissa, if you, I think I remember it was after we all prayed together. She's like, if you need help, medication might help. Seeing a doctor will help. And then in that same moment, the other person was like, no, we just need to pray over her. And I was finding myself in this, not a war, but it felt like just this divided moment. And it was very clear to me that as much as being in one community and being in the same church, we're thinking and believing a lot of the same things. We are all just individual people. Right. And I don't remember how that conversation ended or argument. No one was throwing fists or anything. Right. They were wanting the best for me, but then unintentionally, and I don't think it was selfish, it started to become about them. And I was like, I think I mentally checked out at that point. Therapy was not in the conversation at the time. Therapy, you go talk to your pastor or you go talk to a leader who even in their kindest, wonderful ways want to help you. They are not therapists. They are not specialists. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't talk to them or seek help because connection is so important. Right. So I forgot. Can you repeat the question? Do you see I stray so
You're
much?
You're fine. Yeah. Mental health and religion, how they go hand in hand.
So I'm finding though that my husband, he's a pastor. He's not the head pastor of the church that he's at right now, but he is very open about his mental health. And there were moments where he was, this is not a secret now, but he was suicidal as a pastor. So when I think of mental health, what's right and wrong, I'm thinking, come on, we just need all the help we can get, So I definitely can't speak on behalf of the church. I do love the fact that in a lot of places, there is an exploration of, there's Christian therapists, so I think that's awesome. it's a tricky conversation, I think, especially coming from living in a time where it wasn't like taboo, or maybe it was taboo, but no one really talked about it, especially not in the church. I love the marriage I feel like this could be misunderstood, but I'll say it anyways, of prayer and faith, and also science. And like, I feel like God has like given so many people wisdom. So I am finding though that that is a middle point too for me, trying to understand that. And I don't feel like as a Christian I need to take a stand on anything, right. But I do see though that it is very uncomfortable for a lot of people. But I've also seen leaders, pastors benefit from therapy, benefit from other things that that aren't always birthed out from the church that they're leading. And so I love that. And I love that I love that we're living in a wondering space. Like, we don't have to be conclusive. We can say, I wonder let me see if this can work for me. Let me see if this is right for me. And so I hope that what it seems to be, at least in the churches that I've been a part of, that seems to be the shift versus like, just pray over it, you know? And I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I think exactly what you kind of gave the perfect answer that could be applied to everyone. Is you'll take whatever you could get, whether it be taking the prayers or taking therapy or community connection outside the church, inside the church. I think it is kind of it's not a one size fits all. So if you would benefit from the church specifically, then, or 60-40, 70-30, whatever it is, it's just like whatever could get you through the day, you know? So I think, you don't have to have a definitive answer on it all. There's no clear guidelines.
I agree. And it's hard, I think, to see people who are struggling. And I don't mean this in a judgmental way. It's hard to see them. They're struggling so much, but they're not open to see that maybe something could be different. Maybe it's not these things that are creating this aching and pain in my soul or my body. Maybe it's something else. And that would be maybe my encouragement for people, because I've seen people struggle for so long and not want to try, not want to be open. And I feel like I will respect you. I respect your choice, but I also have been in situations where I struggled and suffered for so long and finally tried something different. And I'm like, whoa, this is amazing. And, or like connecting like this is amazing. So, yeah.
So now the plants.
Yeah, the plants.
I only knew you, Marissa, as Good Morning Cactus for I don't know how long. Just because I would come to court overflow, I'd see Good Morning Cactus. Can you tell me about your business and what inspired you to pursue this business? Because you said it started just kind of as connection. So how did you get to this point?
So during that hard time, when I had miscarried, it was like months after, I was just walking around like a zombie. I considered it a success that my kids were fed and diapers were changed. And there were just like these little moments during that time where I was like, it will be healthy if I go here. It'll be hard, but it will be healthy if I go to the farmer's market today. And one of them was just a trip to visit my sister. She doesn't live that far. She lives in the valley. She lived in the valley at the time. And I don't know what it was, because I've been to her house like enough to just not be excited like I was that day. And she had these cute little, it was so freaking cute, these like cute little succulents that she had just planted. And I've never really been like, plants are fine. I don't,
Yeah.
I'm not a hater. I wasn't a hater. They didn't appeal to me ever before. And she had them in these such cute little nooks in her house. And I was like, dang, this is... And so I was about to leave and she's like, take these home. Like, just take them. And I don't know if she realized how much joy I had just like seeing creatively what she was doing with the plants. And I brought them to the backyard. I put them in the backyard. And I was still having a hard time getting out of bed at the time. So, you know, California, it's always sunny here. So every morning I would go out and just look and peek at them and see like, dude, these are so cute. Like, because they're so chubby. I don't know. Succulents are so chubby. They're so cute. And I was like, and then I was kind of in shock. Like, how did I never know you guys? And it was a weird, I feel like they were a gift from God. Meant to be shared. And my sister shared them with me and know that she had creatively put them in her house. So I don't know how easy it was for her to give what she had been cultivating, but she gave it quick. And I would go to Home Depot during that time. And like, I didn't have much money back then. And I just get more plants I added. And it was this weird thing that got me out the door in that hard season. The sun felt so good on my face. And my kids, when I was saying they were in their trunks, it was because I was in the backyard. And they were just like, I don't know, one was wearing a pirate hat. They were doing weird stuff. I should have cared what they were wearing, but I wasn't. They had chalk. They had like just water bottles. They were spraying each other. And we found this really gift of space and time where we were in the garden and they were just having fun. And so there was just one day I remember I was out there and the sun was going down and it kind of it shone right on my face, and I closed my eyes and I felt like God was just telling me, you are good. Like, this is hard, but you are good. And I was like, all right, I'm good, you know? And so, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? Because then I'm going to like talk about...
Where the love for plants led you to business.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I talk about Instagram, and part of why I was posting those plants, because it's cute, you know,
right.
Like people are doing it a lot now. This sounds not even that long ago, but because Instagram kind of just was still kind of new back then. And you for whatever hobbies we have, you know, if you like the beach, you can hang out with whoever if you're at the beach.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, you can do whatever, you could talk about whatever because you're in your happy place. And so Instagram was like this interesting thing that united me with other plant people, because I was like, oh, is this how hashtags work? I'm like, isn't that a number sign? But there was like, no, isn't that a pound sign?
Right.
They're like, that's a hashtag. I'm like, since when are they calling it? I don't know. I feel aged. And so people were really connecting then on there, and I actually met up a couple times with a few people on there. And like I mentioned earlier, I would just like hashtag, like, you know, something like God is good, and then plants, and then hashtag, you know, miscarriage, because I was still coming out of that. And it was just a wonderful, weird place to connect with people. And so, yeah, it was on there. So the community was a big thing. And then, like I mentioned earlier, people would message me or DM me back then, different parts of the world, different parts of the country, about miscarriages. That part I did not expect. I didn't expect to be a helper for other people in that season. And I remember receiving an email from somebody, I believe in China.
Wow.
And they like laid it all down because they didn't have support. She didn't have support. And I did the best that I could, but I'm not an expert. But she didn't have a place to have a conversation. I'm assuming a lot. I'm assuming that's why she came in. Or sometimes people do have places to people who care and to talk to, but it's way easier to connect with somebody or talk about something very hard with somebody removed from your like your circles, because it feels safer sometimes like that. So the community was big, and I didn't expect that. I also was reading all these books about botanical design, just like library guys is free. So I was like, Deborah Lee Baldwin she's in San Diego, and she's just this artist. So I was reading all this stuff of how wonderful and hardy succulents are. And I was just messing around with them, doing stuff. And there was a Christmas where a friend of mine was like, hey, do you sell your succulents? And I thought to myself, I would like to sell succulents. Because I'm like, I would give them as gifts, which I still hope to do. But those are also, it's a tricky thing to just give things without having somebody pay, because what is that? That's you doing free work for everybody.
Yeah.
And I knew I needed a safe place to navigate these conversations. So she's like, I needed glasses. I was going to get glasses from Costco, just regular eyeglasses. So I was like, if I can sell $200 worth of plants, I could get me some good Costco glasses. But and I was just posting. And then Christmas is a hot season. So they were just like, they were moving really quickly. And so it just kind of carried on. And there was a point where I really wanted to improve my craft. So I went to Portland and studied with two botanical artists, one who specializes in terrariums, and then another that specializes in like a fashion, fashion botanical art. And that's not what I wanted to pursue, but it was a mystery how she constructed things. And Portland is such a wonderful place for foliage because it's so wet there, and there's a lot of moss, and there's like so much. I don't want to live there because it's too. I don't want to live in Portland, but there's so many wonderful places that just maybe they're here, but because there's so much lush. It's very lush. So I studied there. When I say I studied, I just spent a short amount of time there. Put it on a credit card because I was, no budget. And so the business, I'm a teacher. I used to teach elementary school before, and then I had my first son, and I was like, I can't do this. I used to teach in South LA, and it was a bit rough, but it really helped me. Like, it broke my heart for the community. And so all that to say is that it's this interesting, there was a demand for what I was making. When I say demand, I only say that because people were asking. I will not put myself in a category of these wonderful artists or even these wonderful businesses that really hustle. It all goes back to community when I'm not maybe making the sales that I want to. So I guess to make a long story even longer, I was given a few opportunities to workshop, and I did do a couple workshops before, but there was a weird, interesting pursuing of me because I think people saw that I had a lot of followers on Instagram. That's arguable now. I see people having in the millions. At the time, people are like, how do you have that many followers on Instagram? And it really was the time that I got on. And also, don't underestimate plant people. Plant people can be crazy, like anything else. So people just wanted to see plants and arrangements. Yeah. So anyhow, I started workshopping things, teaching the workshop at Barrels and Branches. It's this beautiful place in San Diego. And then from that came other opportunities to workshop at Acorn, like regularly have workshops. Acorn, it's another boutique, but it's in Eagle Rock. And I used to also run my business out of a shop called Make Collectives in Long Beach. It's almost the same thing that I do here, but I'm not from Long Beach. I'm a South Bay kid. So I was like, I don't want to drive so far. Right. Though I do love driving up and down the Vincent Thomas Bridge. That's always fun. I always think I'm going to fall off the edge of it. But I mean, like, don't drive too. So all that to say, these opportunities came. part of it was pursuing it, but part of it was just, I believe, the heart of what I do, the heart of what this has become. It goes back to people. And it's arguable, I'm good at what I do, but I love that people can find a home at the workshops. They can find a home when they are trying to pick a present for somebody, a plant present for somebody they haven't seen in a while. So I feel like I hope I answered that right.
You did.
Yeah, okay.
Just the opportunities were coming in.
Yeah, they were coming in. And I'm not going to say like, I'm so humble and people just wanted me. It was like, a lot of it was because I get questions about plants, but I get questions about like, how'd you start your business? And this setting to run it out of corridor flow this is like, I've made it, guys, because my parents opened their own shop when I was growing up, and it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Hustling and having your own shop is just, it's a bit much. So all that to say is just, yeah, you have to, the questions are, do you do this? Not, are you really good at what you do? Most of the questions are, when someone's trying to engage in business, because I get a lot of questions about, how did you start? It's, can you do this? Do you do this? Can you do this? And I was like, sure, I could do this. Like, sure, I do that now. Like, sure, I can do. And I'm constantly in new conversations. So now that because I'm almost 10 years in my business.
Wow.
And so a lot of now I can be honest. I'm like, guys, I've never done that before, but let's figure it out together. Yeah. What's your budget? So I don't have to be like, yes, I do this, and this is the system. I just like, I've done this in the past. It's kind of like what you're asking for, but let's figure it out. And I'd love to make it work in your budget. And usually those opportunities have come because of the conversations, which is kind of exhausting sometimes too, but yeah.
Yeah. We're taking a quick break to introduce Anchor, the sponsor of this podcast. Anchor is free, first and foremost, which is amazing. Who doesn't love free? And you can record everything directly into Anchor. It's so easy to use Anchor. That's how you are listening to this podcast, whether it's Spotify, Apple, the Anchor website. You're listening to it because I uploaded this podcast episode to Anchor. If you want to start your own podcast, I highly recommend Anchor. It's made this whole process so easy. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. We are back. We took a little second just to make sure we were rolling. Because I'd be so upset if like anything wasn't working.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Like, what if we missed it? Which makes me like quadruple check my phone. Okay, but
no,
we're
that's good. Well, that's why you can edit it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're good. But so you did mention coming here to Corridor Flow. I'm just like curious, like how did you get here?
People think we're related.
Oh, really?
But we're not. I had closed the door at my old place because it just wasn't a good fit. And I felt like it was God just saying, you're supposed to be in the South Bay. You're like I keep on calling myself a South Bay kid because I feel like I was born like in Harbor City and I grew up in Gardena. And I mean, the local Delamo Mall or local mall, like I caused so much trouble there. I love that place. So and plus my church communities here, our school communities are the kids' school, they go to public school, it's here. And my heart is for this place. But, and it was exhausting going to Long Beach and living, because like Long Beach is awesome. I love it. And I want to go back there. But, I don't live a nightlife. I like to be in my pajamas at like 6:00. And, I joke around and tell people like it's moo style. I just like, I love living my life like that. But my husband is in coffee. My husband, Derek, is in coffee. And whenever there's a new coffee shop, he will try it and support. So what you don't get here, at least in Torrance, and honestly, this is the most time I ever spent in Lomita. Lomita, to me, growing up was like, oh, we're just passing through Lomita and it's done. But Lomita is such a beautiful community too. So he's like, there's a new coffee shop. It's so close by. And he's like, you can have your workshops in there because the space, it's so big.
Yeah.
It's actually surprising how big it is from the front. And I came here one day with my husband because at the time we both had Fridays off. And Tin and Nori, the owners, were just so nice. They came and talked to us. And I kept on checking in with them, like, don't you guys got other stuff to do? But there was like just a nice connection. And they, that was only 2 months after they opened, or a month after they opened. And so when they celebrated their 3-year anniversary, I'm like celebrating my 3-year anniversary with them. So we started doing pop-ups here, but not too long after, like, just be in here, just move your business in here. And that was trippy for me because I didn't even pray for this. It seemed like a big ask to say, let me find a creative community in Torrance. Because, there's billions of creative people. Billions. Forgive me, that sounds like a population census. Anyways, there's creative people everywhere. They gather differently elsewhere. They gather differently in Long Beach. They gather differently in Eagle Rock. They they gather differently just like in Silver Lake. And some of them are a little bit more identified, like you can just find it and be a part of it. I very underestimated how the longing people had to connect in this way. And it was in their vision, Tin and Nori's, to build community here. And to me, when I hear that, it wasn't like, let's have the best coffee, let's have this, of course we want those things, but their heart was so for people that I was like, I'm here, I want to be here. And I joke around and tell them, like, they're going to have to kick me out because, like, firstly, I live like less than 10 minutes away and my kids can ride their bikes here. It's cool. Just a place of harmony for my family. And, during the pandemic, which was not too long after I came in here, that sense of community and actually people seeing them having, well, for lack of better words, needs for their mental health, but having that demand be so great across the board, I knew it was important. Well, I also wanted to sell plants. But I knew it was important for me to be present here. So it's interesting now, like 2 years out of the pandemic, and these faces are coming back in, and we've bonded so deeply. And people would tell me, like, I see you more than your family, my parents. Because there was a time, remember, we couldn't even see our elderly parents or the older people in our community. And we all got to share this terrible time together. And it feels like we've spent lifetimes together. So even on top of coming here and moving here and building community, it is almost as if the pandemic made it clear to me that is a big component of my business. For this selfish reason for me, that it brings me so much joy when people have a place. Not like a Cheers, like, where everybody knows your name. I just quoted that. But just because, we can't be that. Sometimes people have greater needs, but like to help people, to usher people, to maybe resource them. I've been able to do that here as well because we've had people come in so vulnerable every now and then. And the old Marissa, the young Marissa would say, like, this person, get out. But Marissa, who's like matured a bit and is aware of just how crazy life can get, but also how amazing resources are. And when we can help out like that, that's awesome too. So that's how I got here, and I don't plan on leaving. And I love the craziness of this new season and there being 20 million events. I'm just so wonderfully overwhelmed because it opened right when the corridor flow opened right when things were picking up. And then it's like, there was concerts, there was pop-ups, there was a workshop, all these wonderful things we were having. And then for the dream to almost die, it was so sad. And to see it come alive again more than it was before. It's pretty awesome. But yeah.
I mean, it's also cool because I think, I mean, I didn't start loving plants until the pandemic, and now it's like my whole room is just filled with them. Like I have a I have a humidifier just for my plants, and it's like, you know what I mean?
Next level, man.
It's like you start like,
yeah.
It is also like a reason for me to like go and like care for something else, other than just me, my family, my dog, or my girlfriend, whatever it is. It's like it's just an extra thing. Yeah. Like it's like, oh, I'm building something. I'm creating something.
Yeah.
And it's just such a cool part of being a plant dad.
Yeah. And resourcing people, weirdly, I love doing that. And part of my business is passing on myself as a resource by giving knowledge and empowering people. I love, you could say this about like different things. It's not just about plants, but I love when people get equipped with knowledge and it sets them up for success. And it helps correct something too that they've been doing wrong and they feel empowered about. They can correct something. There's, we see it with kids all the time when they learn how to ride a bike or we need that as adults. Knowledge is amazing, and knowledge when we have these dreams for ourselves. I know one of them, like a silly one, might be like, let me make my house into a jungle kind of thing, and you're equipped and you have the right information to do it well. It lends itself to make your space so beautiful, right? And cultivating things there's so many life lessons in it. You sit there and write a poem because there's just like so many wonderful things that happen when you're caring for plants. The parallels between life and plant life and nurturing something, and the patience and the struggle, But
yeah. Is there for you like this, because it started as a passion, turning into a career, with it being like a job? Is it hard for you to still maintain a love for plants, or is it just?
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you maintain like to love them?
That's an interesting question that I feel like I've been asked in a different way, but this might sound like a bit, I was going to say controversial, but it's not. I don't mean it that way. But plants were a gift to me during a hard time. If someone said to me, Marissa, you could be famous. If you could be famous by one thing, choose the thing, choose it. I was like, I would be the next Mariah Carey, or I would, I would be like concerts, and I would be that one. It's not like I said, I'm going to be I didn't choose this. I felt like God just said, this is you. But I feel like God knows my heart for people. And I also know how painful it was when I felt very much so unhealthy and alone. And so when part of what was hard during the pandemic was that the workshops and being around people, the workshops and being around people just wasn't happening the way that brought me joy. And I had to refigure that out. Like, how do I still engage with people when I can't see people? And I didn't realize that it was really making me, how sad it was making me that I couldn't have that engagement. It wasn't, of course I want to make $1 million, I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, like, it was really sad for me. And it made me even sadder that people were hurting and they didn't have a place to gather.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the people and plants go hand in hand for me. And so, admittedly, I will say I kill so many plants. I like, so that doesn't make me a good expert, but I have my seasons with plants.
Right.
And right now I'm trying to declutter. And then soon enough, I'm probably going to clutter it up again just because. And I feel sorrowful for plants that I know can come back. So people sometimes don't do this, but people drop their dying plants over like, Marissa, I just can't do this anymore. It's like I'm adopting. So I have this like little section of like plants that, come on guys, just do it. You can make it, giving them what they need. So yeah, I don't want to say it's hard. It does come in its seasons where I'm like, I'm not really feeling this, but because I love people so much, it's just
a great connector to people.
Yeah, and I like really, I could choose something else. Maybe I would be like a professional surfer, or I'd do something else that was like, I don't know, but it's pretty cool, this thing that I get to do.
Yeah.
But again, knowing that just kind of.
All I'm saying is if you were a professional surfer, I wouldn't find you as interesting as you are now. I'm going to be honest. I think plants are much more interesting.
Oh, cool. Yes. Well,
That's me. That's just me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But that's my perspective.
That's awesome.
But, you've mentioned surfing. You mentioned how you'd love to be the next Mariah Carey. I'm wondering because, plants were at one point this great outlet for you. They still are, but what other outlets do you seek for your mental health's sake?
Yeah, I'm not a good surfer, but I do surf.
Okay.
And I've only made strides the past year because I finally was like, I need to seek a professional for this. So I joined like a surf group, and it's just, I'm so blessed that it's with moms. And I take Thursdays off. It's with Perfect Day surf camps, and we just surf, and I've made so many great strides, but I didn't realize that as much as it would be cool if I could like barrel through all these waves, I didn't realize how much fun wiping out with people would be.
Wait, is it today? Thursday?
Yeah, I went out this morning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm all proud of myself because it was really it was kind of scary out there today. We just are at Redondo, like by the like Topaz and Sapphire.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary for like an aging woman like me, just because I'm like, if I break my arm or anything, or anyhow, it was good though. I caught a few but just when you have a dream, maybe because I just like, I'm going to teach myself, but there's so many layers to surfing. I mean, some people can pop up and just do it. That's totally not me. I took my first wave in Hawaii, like on Waikiki when I was 15. I was like, I'm gonna do this, and then here I am, like X amount years later, not have made any growth. But when you have a dream in your heart to do something, and you can like save up and budget for like lessons, whatever it is, it's never too late. And so, but the fun thing about this group is just it's like women that are like my age. Most of us have kids. I think all of us have kids, and we're just learning. We're learning like a 10-year-old would, and it's pretty amazing. Yeah. And then I also, oh gosh, I forgot the question.
Other outlets.
Oh, other outlets. I sing at church. I play the guitar. I do that. I lead worship at church, but I love singing karaoke, man. I just like blow that thing up. I just any Whitney Houston song. Any like Casey and JoJo song, 90s R&B. Okay. I'm just gonna kill it.
And then Usher.
Yeah, Usher. No, I'm sorry. I'm about to bust out an Usher. Yeah, and Celine Dion actually.
Okay.
I will 90s R&B, Celine Dion. And I like those those ballads. And I always joke around with my kids. I'm like, when you guys get to that age when you want to sneak out, and you put me in front of the karaoke machine by myself, you could like leave the house and come back 3 times and I won't ever know. And I don't want them to do that. But oftentimes my husband will come and it'll be like 11 and he's like, can you close the windows, please? Because I'm just like really turning that karaoke. Yeah, I just love it. I feel like,
that's
dude,
awesome.
Yeah, I think I might be the only one enjoying it though.
That's fun.
Yeah, and I skate. I love skating.
What kind of skating? Like
longboard.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you meant like roller skate. Okay.
But all these things I'm like pretty average at. I'm not.
But they're outlets for you.
They are definitely. Yeah. And skating has been fun because skating and surfing have been fun because I have my 3 boys, and they've kind of exceeded me in terms of how good they are, but I never thought I'd have, like, if I had kids, I thought a girl would be one of them, like, but we get to do all these things together. It's nice with surfing because if I bite it, I'm going to fall on water versus like during the pandemic, I was like watching all these videos. I'm like, okay, guys, we're going to do these tricks. And I was trying to do this move called like a Peter Pan. I don't know.
Okay.
And I fell like hard on my tailbone on my phone. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm just going to skate just to the grocery store, to the park, and we're good.
Just cruise.
Yeah, let's just cruise. But yeah, they're fun things. And I'm always down to try stuff. Like I think the older I'm getting, the more I'm like, whoa, when you're I think that's why I love doing workshops, because it resets the mind. And when people are in learning mode, they are much kinder. It's open to correction. Like like when we get kind of pissed at somebody that is trying to correct us and we didn't ask, like, I didn't ask for your opinion, but in workshops and in when I was taking this self-defense class with Pamana Kali, and they're like, it was a women's self-defense class, and I was trying all these like punching moves basically for survival, and I was like, dang, I punch really well. All of these things, they just, that mind, when we get into the learning mindset, we don't realize how it can enrich our lives, and anyhow, yeah. It's a lot of me.
Okay.
Probably didn't want to know.
No. I asked you.
That's right. You did. It's your fault.
Yeah. You got to remember, I'm interviewing you.
That's right.
So, but actually, when I say that, we are coming towards the end. I just have some silly little quick fire ones. But is there anything you'd like to say or add that I didn't ask you before?
Yeah. Maybe I would say that if you're hitting a wall, maybe encourage people, if you feel like you're hitting a wall or you're feeling very low, that you don't need to have an answer, that you can ask for help. And ask multiple people for help.
Yeah.
And maybe that's all I would say. Yeah. And be in your learning. Be a lifetime learner. I know it's kind of something they say as a joke, but not as a joke, but but life is so enriching. And really, like with that Surf Moms group, I always thought, like, I'm going to be hanging out with these women that are surfing and we're going to be so awesome. And we're just like falling off the board 1 second. We're not even making it. But I've never laughed so hard. I've never celebrated with people so hard. So find a place where you can wipe out metaphorically and celebrate small steps, small growth. Yeah. Small growth.
Yeah. That's a great way to wrap that up. But silly, quick fire questions. Okay. If you were a plant, what would you be and why?
That's been asked to me before. I would be a cactus.
Okay.
Because I think that like cactus, when you think of it, they are, people, they're kind of off-putting and you don't know how to handle them, but then you also know what they are. So like, you're not going to be like, minus kids who don't know any better. You're not going to grab a cactus like this or hug it. They are who they are, and we kind of give them the space that they need. They have those needles are survival mechanisms, and they clearly work. And I think a lot of us grew up in like, just be kind, say the nice thing, say the sweet thing. But sometimes you need to be a cactus, and I feel like I need to, so people know they've like to communicate boundaries and stuff. And so, I'll probably be a cactus.
And you're very resilient.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of clear. Like, it's pretty clear that.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Now, if you were a superhero, what would your power be?
My power would be. I feel like I joked around this. I feel like any superhero thing I've made a joke about. I joke around too much. I don't know. I don't know. I want to go serious and I want to go.
Go either way, but like
I'd want maybe two powers. A power like to help people know that they're not alone. So if I were to like equate that to like, I would like put my hand or something, or just like reach out in your direction, and then you would feel a peace and comfort. I feel like that also sounds like a church thing too. And then I would, dude, I'd want to fly.
Yeah,
I'd want to fly.
I'm right there with you.
And then it would be like so fun to travel places, and I would fly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have a holy grail plant that you just are dying to have, but it's rare or it's expensive or?
That is a good question.
Because plant people are crazy.
Yeah, and I do carry rare plants, but they're all the easy care ones. So hence they're not as rare as them. This will be my honest answer. I don't desire rare plants anymore. Mainly because the investment for me is not worth the work it takes to. I did get a Monstera albo.
Okay.
So it's like the Monstera deliciosa that the coloration is whitish. And I was like, oh, I got this. And this is just you, plant. So it's there. And I'm like, I paid for you and you're here. And good job being you. But and then I got a philodendron pink princess. I don't know if you've seen those.
No, but when I edit this, I'm going to put them up right here.
Yeah. And I got one of those and I was like, it felt the same way. And I'm like, you're great. But
that was a lot of money.
Yeah, that was a lot of, and both of them I shopped around for it, and then just look at the any of the complications or just the grower. So I actually don't crave rare plants anymore. They're beautiful though. I just don't like to do the work.
That's fair.
Yeah, I want to party, man.
That's why I love like pothos, because they're usually so easy to care for, but they also like drape so well.
Yes,
I mean, like they drape, and I love that jungly.
Yeah,
I love them.
If there was a recommendation for a plant to get, so pothos are good. I would say go in the philodendron cordatum realm.
Okay, gonna have to learn how to spell that, but it's gonna be right here.
Yeah, which are these guys? And really? We have them here because we don't have as much light. And I always call it Rapunzel. They Rapunzel their little hearts out and have like super long hair. They just look a little bit better when they are aged and they're when they're thirsty, whereas like a pothos kind of deflates to a degree. They just kind of like lose a little bit of strength, and then to water them. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, people know where to. Yeah. If they can't spell it, they know where to ask for inquiry.
Philodendron cordatum. Okay. Yeah.
The images are gonna be here. Yeah. But we'll get there.
Yeah. That's a good question, though.
Thank you. So I thought you were serious about having a book earlier before we were recording. But if you were to have a book, what would you title it?
That's a good question. And that will probably be, this. I don't even know what the book would be about. But I don't know. If I had a book. Oh, dang! This is a hard question. I want to say "Don't Touch Me," and I don't know why. Probably because it has to do with the cactus and the needles. But I feel like, what would that book even be about? that would be a book because I am very when it comes to like working and when it comes to being helpful, I feel like I'm very present. But I get really exhausted easily from just socializing. So. Anyhow, I don't know what that book would be about, though. Okay. It would be like "Leave Me Alone," and then that would just be the cover, and there would be nothing inside because you're supposed to leave Marissa alone. I don't know. Oh
well, we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting to our landing point. But that is all the questions I have. It is past 6, so I know you're past pajama time. So we'll wrap it up. But Marissa, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think
our followers should be excited for our collaboration in December, which we'll be explaining more about when we get there. But thank you so much. And that's pretty much all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you again to Marissa for joining me on the podcast and discussing her journey with her miscarriage, and her journey with motherhood, and then her business, Good Morning Cactus. You could find Marissa online where she posts about her plants and her workshops that she hosts. And you could also stop by Corridor Flow in Lomita to go buy her plants, buy yourself a coffee. I personally really like their lox bagel and just anything else that you could get there. They sell lots of cool independent AAPI businesses. They stock a lot of different business items, and it's just really worth stopping by, even if it's just to grab a quick coffee. But with that said, if you enjoy this episode, you can subscribe to our show, which we release episodes every other Tuesday, and give us a rating or review on your favorite podcast platform. If you would like to support our podcast and help us grow, you can do so with a donation to the link at the bottom of the episode description. To hear more about Changing Tides, follow us on Instagram at LTSC_Changing Tides, or check out our website, thechangingtides.org. Let's continue to change the tide on mental health.